With so many unique and legendary weapons in Fallout 4, you may be wondering which of them are worth using during the endgame sections of the game. So in this video, I will be showing you 10 of the best endgame weapons in Fallout 4. Now before we jump into this video, I will just say that I plan on making tons of content for Fallout 4, and eventually other Fallout and Elder Scrolls games, and Starfield. So if you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing to this channel to see those videos when they come out. So the first endgame weapon can actually be obtained pretty early on in the game. To get it, all you will need to do is head over to Vault 81 and talk to the vendor Alexis, and she will be selling the legendary Overseer's Guardian Rifle. Even though you can get this weapon pretty much as soon as you start the game, as long as you have enough caps, it will carry you through the entire game, due to its high base damage and the perk on it which will make the weapon fire 2 rounds every time you pull the trigger, which will double the damage done by each shot. On top of this, the second shot is considered to be free as it doesn't reduce your ammo count, which is nice, but it also uses a very common and cheap ammo type, so it's not too hard to get ammo for this weapon, allowing you to use it often. The next weapon can be found at Swan's Pond. When you get here, you will need to approach the water and shoot the white swan in the water to summon the swan boss. And if you can defeat this boss, you can loot the legendary Furious Power Fist weapon off of Swan's body. This is a very overpowered weapon, especially if you're using a melee build, but it will also work great as a backup melee weapon for when you run out of ammo. The reason this weapon is so good is due to the perk on it, which will make the weapon do more and more damage every time you land a hit on the same target, which may not seem like much, but it will melt pretty much every enemy you encounter. To get the next weapon on the list, head over to the Nuka World Market and talk to the vendor Caitlin. This vendor will be selling the legendary Throat Slicer melee weapon. This is another extremely powerful melee weapon. The Throat Slicer comes with a high base damage, but it also has a perk on it which will apply a bleed effect to your target every time you hit them, which will deal an additional 25 damage. There are a few other unique melee weapons that have this effect, but the Throat Slicer is considered to be better than them due to its higher base damage. And while you're at the Nuka World Market, you can also talk to the vendor Aaron to get the next weapon on the list. Aaron will be selling the legendary Splatter Cannon Rifle. This is another amazing legendary weapon as it will come with a scope, a suppressor, and a drum mag. And the perk on it will increase the weapon's damage every time you land a shot on the same target. This perk is the same perk from the Furious Power Fist, but it works a lot better on the Splatter Cannon as it is a ranged weapon, so you don't need to be close to your target to get the effect of the perk. And like I mentioned, the weapon will come with a scope and a suppressor, so it will work very well as a long distance stealth weapon. The next weapon will come from a secret vendor that can be found outside of Vault 81 or at Bunker Hill. The vendor that you are looking for is named Cricket, and she will be selling the legendary Spray and Pray SMG. This weapon will come with a 100 round mag and a suppressor, and the perk on it will make rounds fired from this weapon explode on contact, dealing an additional 15 damage to every enemy around the explosion. This perk will make the Spray and Pray an amazing endgame weapon as it will really tear through everything in the game. The next two weapons on this list will come from the Nucleus and Far Harbor. When you first get here, you will want to talk to Grand Zealot Richter, and he will have a side quest for you called the Heretic. And after you complete this short side quest, he will give you the legendary Adam's Judgement melee weapon. The Adam's Judgement is a very powerful but slow melee weapon. It will have a high base damage, and the perk on it will apply 100 radiation damage to your target every time you hit them, which will work very well against human enemies. The next weapon comes from the vendor Brother Kane, who will also be in the Nucleus and Far Harbor. Brother Kane will be selling the Kiloton Radium Rifle. This weapon will perform similarly to the Spray and Pray SMG with a small twist. The perk on the Kiloton radium rifle will make bullets fired from this weapon explode on contact, dealing an additional 15 damage to everything around that explosion. And the base damage on the weapon is already pretty high, so that extra damage makes it even stronger. But due to this weapon being a radium rifle, it will also deal an extra 50 damage as radiation damage to your target. So the damage output on this weapon is actually a lot higher than you would think, making it a very useful weapon during the endgame. To get the next weapon on the list, you will need to progress through the Minuteman questline until reaching the quest Taking Independence, where you reclaim the castle. After this, a new NPC will show up at the castle named Ronnie Shaw, who will have a side quest for you called Old Guns. After completing this side quest, Ronnie will turn into a vendor at the castle and she will be selling the legendary last-minute Gaus rifle. This will be your go-to weapon when you need to take out difficult enemies very quickly. This is due to the very high base damage on the weapon and the perk on it, which will increase limb damage done by this weapon by 50%. This is a Gaus rifle, so you will need to charge up your shots, but a well-placed fully charged shot can take out some of the strongest enemies in the game in just a single hit. To get the next weapon on the list, you will need to go against the Brotherhood of Steel faction and kill Elder Maxon. This will happen at the end of your faction's storyline, but after you defeat Elder Maxon, you can loot the legendary final Judgement off of his body. This is a very strong Gatling laser weapon that will have a perk on it that will increase its rate of fire by 25% and make reloading this weapon 15% faster. This weapon alone makes it very hard to side with the Brotherhood of Steel, because if you do, you can't get the final Judgement weapon. And it is an amazing weapon, so you really don't want to pass up on it. But if you decide to side with the Brotherhood of Steel, the next weapon on the list will work just as well, if not better. And that weapon is the Eternis. To get this weapon, you will need to complete the entire storyline of the Nuka World DLC, and then defeat all 6 of the challengers in the Kolakar Arena. The 6th challenger will be the Rogue Knight, and if you defeat this challenger, you can loot the legendary Eternis off of his body. Now this weapon will be similar to the final Judgement, but it is a little crazier as the perk on it will make it so you never need to reload this weapon. But this perk actually breaks the weapon as the Eternis uses fusion cores instead of ammo, which means the first fusion core that you put into the weapon will never run out, allowing you to keep firing this weapon forever with infinite ammo. So it is kind of overkill and it makes the game extremely easy. But those are 10 of the best endgame legendary weapons in Fallout 4 that you don't want to miss. But I would love to know which of these weapons you like the most in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed this video and thank you for watching.